I never thought my girlfriend would steal $40,000 from me using a fake television show, until I found the emails where she called contractors, so easy to manipulate. The first thing you learn in construction is that everything needs a solid foundation. Doesn't matter if you are building a shed or a skyscraper. Without proper support, the whole structure will eventually collapse. Takes longer with some builds than others, but gravity always wins in the end. I should have applied that principle to relationships. I am Cooper, been with Haley for 18 months. I am a contractor, good at what I do, built a solid business from nothing. 3 weeks ago, this guy Brett shows up at Haley's house, claiming he is a television producer for the home network. Says he wants to film me renovating Haley's place for this show called Modern Transformations. Morning I met Brett Sullivan. I was standing in Haley Morrison's kitchen, measuring for what would become a $16,000 marble island. Haley had been my girlfriend for 18 months at that point. Brett walked in wearing a black turtleneck and designer glasses, looking like he had raided Steve Jobs' closet. "Cooper Williams," he said, extending a hand with a grip softer than tissue paper. "I have heard incredible things about your work. Haley showed me photos of the Riverside mansion you restored. Absolutely transformative." "Thanks," I said, already suspicious. "In my experience, people who gush about your work before discussing budget are either broke or running a con. I am producing a new show for the home network," Brett continued, pulling out an iPad. "Modern Transformations. We follow talented contractors as they renovate deserving homes. Haley thought you would be perfect for our pilot episode." Haley wrapped her arms around me from behind. "Isn't this amazing, babe? Your work is finally going to get the recognition it deserves." Brett showed me mock-ups of the show logo, sample contracts with other contractors, even a filming schedule. It all looked legitimate, professional letterhead, industry terminology, the works. He had done his homework. "Here is how it works," Brett explained. "You provide the labor and materials at cost. We film everything. When the show airs, you will get full credit, plus back-end compensation from the network. Standard is $50,000 for the pilot. More if it gets picked up for a series at cost," I asked. "The network reimburses everything after filming wraps," Brett assured me. "Usually takes 60 to 90 days. I know it is a big ask, but the exposure alone is worth hundreds of thousands in marketing." Haley's sister Melissa appeared with a camera and a clipboard. "I am coordinating production," she said. "We will need you to sign some release forms. Standard stuff." I was suspicious at first, but Haley was so excited, kept talking about our future and how this was my big break. Brett had contracts, letterhead, the whole thing looked legit. He said I would provide labor and materials at cost, get reimbursed after filming, plus $50K for the pilot if it got picked up. God, I am such an idiot, so I did it. Pulled my best guys off paying jobs. Spent 3 weeks gutting her kitchen, custom cabinets I built myself. $16K marble island, Brazilian hardwood, premium everything. My supplier Frank gave me his best prices thinking this was going to lead to a television deal. But things felt off. The filming was amateur. Brett's business cards were cheap. My regular client Nancy Russell stopped by and said the home network doesn't even make renovation shows anymore. Just cooking content, that is when I did something I have never done before. Last night, while Haley was at her production meeting, I went through her laptop. The emails were all there. Cooper's totally buying it. He actually thinks he is going to be on television. It is almost sad how excited he gets when Brett mentions the network. Keep him motivated. We need at least 3 more rooms completed for the portfolio. And this one, God, this one made me physically sick. I have got him wrapped around my finger. God, contractors are so easy to manipulate. Just promise them recognition, and they will work for free. There is no show. Brett isn't a producer. He is Melissa's boyfriend who works in marketing. They created this whole elaborate scheme to get me to renovate Haley's house for free so she could use the footage to launch her home staging business. She has been planning this for months, has a launch party scheduled for Friday with 50 investors coming to see my work as her portfolio. I am sitting in my truck outside her house right now watching my crew still working inside, thinking they are creating something for television. They have no idea we have all been played. Reddit. What the hell do I do? Part of me wants to confront her. But another part of me is thinking, there has to be a better way to handle this. My lawyer says since there is no real contract, I technically still own everything I installed. Am I overreacting? Should I just cut my losses and run? Or am I crazy for thinking there might be a way to turn this around on them? This launch party is in 3 days and I cannot stop thinking about all those investors coming to see my work while she takes credit for it. Update 1: I realized I needed to stop being a victim and start thinking like a businessman. So I called my lawyer first thing yesterday morning. Since there is no legitimate contract for a television show because the show doesn't exist, this is theft by deception. But here is the interesting part: without a written agreement transferring ownership, I still legally own everything I installed. Every cabinet, every piece of tile, every fixture. You have receipts proving you paid for the materials, my lawyer explained. You have no contract transferring ownership to them. Legally, they are still your property. I showed the emails to my crew yesterday. Jake, my best guy, was furious. We have been killing ourselves for 3 weeks for nothing. Not nothing, I said. We have been setting up the best demonstration of our demolition skills anyone's ever going to see. I realized this isn't about nothing. This is about showing these scammers exactly what happens when you mess with honest contractors. I also did some digging on this whole operation, found out Haley registered Haley Morrison Staging. 2 weeks ago, Brett's Modern Vision Productions LLC was created last month in Delaware. Melissa has been uploading our footage to a folder, literally called HM Staging Portfolio. The depth of this deception is insane. They had fake contracts with other contractors, sample show materials, even planned out a whole filming schedule. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. This was a calculated con job, Nancy Russell. My client who first raised red flags offered to help. That girl needs to learn what happens when you mess with honest contractors, she said. So here is what I am thinking. Haley's big launch party is tomorrow night. 50 investors are coming to see her revolutionary home staging work, which is actually my work. She is planning to use this to get funding for her staging business. What if those investors got to see a real demonstration of what happens when you build your business on stolen labor? My lawyer says as long as I am reclaiming my own property, it is completely legal. My crew is on board. They are as pissed as I am about being used. Frank, my supplier, wants his premium materials back too. Part of me feels bad about what I am planning. But then I remember that email contractors are so easy to manipulate. We will see about that. Tomorrow night, those investors are going to get a masterclass in why you don't screw over the people who do real work. Update 2. I cannot believe I am actually typing this, but we did it. We actually did it. The launch party for Haley Morrison Staging was held that Friday night at her house, my renovation serving as the showpiece. She had invited 50 potential investors, local real estate agents, and social media influencers. The invitation promised an exclusive first look at revolutionary home transformations by the city's newest staging visionary. I arrived at 8:30 with 2 trucks, Jake, my 3 other crew members, and Frank Miller, who was particularly interested in reclaiming his materials. We walked through the front door in our work clothes, tool belts on, crowbars in hand. The party stopped. 50 people in cocktail attire stared at us. Haley rushed over in a designer dress I would probably paid for. Cooper, what are you doing here? This isn't. You cannot be here. Actually, I can, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I need to collect my property. Your property. She forced a laugh. Babe, you are confused. This is my house. The house is yours, I agreed. But everything I installed in it is mine. See, there is no contract, no payment, no transfer of ownership, just 3 weeks of what my lawyer calls theft by deception. Brett stepped forward, still in his stupid turtleneck. Now wait a minute, Brett Sullivan, I announced to the room, or should I say, the fake television producer who convinced me this was all for a show on the home network, which, fun fact, doesn't exist, because the home network only does cooking shows now. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone was already Googling on their phone. That is ridiculous, Haley said, but her voice was shaking. Nancy Russell stepped forward from the crowd. Actually, it is not. I have been investigating this for Cooper. There is no show, no production company, no network deal. I pulled out my phone and cast it to Haley's smart television, another thing I had installed. The emails appeared on screen, her messages about manipulating me, Brett's instructions to keep me working, the admission that contractors were easy to manipulate. The room was dead silent except for the sound of phones taking pictures of the screen. But here is the best part, I continued. Since I own everything I installed, I am here to collect it, boys. What happened next was the most satisfying hour of my professional life. My crew spread out with practiced efficiency. Jake headed for the kitchen with a crowbar. The others went for the bathrooms and bedrooms. Frank started checking serial numbers on appliances. "You cannot do this," Haley screamed. "This is my launch party. These are investors." "Then you should have invested in your own renovation," I said, pulling on my work gloves. Instead of stealing $40,000 worth of labor and materials from me, the investors were backing away, some already heading for the door. One real estate agent was live streaming the whole thing. "This is insane," she narrated to her phone. "The contractor is literally taking the house apart." The sound of drilling filled the air as Jake began removing the custom cabinets. They came off the walls in pieces, revealing the old damaged drywall behind them. The kitchen island I had built started coming apart. Expensive quartz cracking as we lifted it. "Stop." Melissa tried to grab my arm. "We will pay you. We will work something out." "The time for working things out was before you decided to commit fraud," I said. "This is what happens when you build your business on someone else's foundation." Brett was on his phone, probably trying to call the police. "They are destroying private property." Nancy Russell laughed. "No, they are reclaiming stolen property. I have already called the police myself. They are very interested in talking to you about fraud charges." Within an hour, Haley's showcase home was stripped back to its original state. Worse than original. Actually, the old problems were now exposed. The water damage, the structural issues, the shoddy previous work I had been covering up. Her investors were long gone. Her launch party destroyed. Her staging business dead before it started. Frank tallied up his reclaimed materials, $22,000 worth of supplies. "I will credit your account." Cooper. "Thanks for not letting these scammers keep my premium materials." As we loaded the last of the fixtures into our trucks, Haley stood in her gutted kitchen, mascara running down her face. "You ruined me," she sobbed. "This was my dream." "Your dream was built on my work," I replied. "And like any structure without a foundation, it was always going to collapse." The police arrived as we were leaving. Brett was trying to explain his fake production company while Melissa deleted files from her phone. Haley was showing them her deed, insisting she owned everything in the house. "The deed shows you own the house," the officer said patiently. "But these receipts show Mr. Williams owns the renovations. And these emails suggest you obtained his services through fraudulent means. You will need to come with us to answer some questions." Reddit. I know some of you think I went too far, but seeing those scammers get exposed in front of all their potential victims, worth every minute. Final update. Hey Reddit. Figured I owed you a final update since so many of you followed this crazy journey. First, Brett, Haley, and Melissa were all charged with conspiracy to commit fraud. They took a plea deal, probation, and full restitution. Haley had to sell her house to pay me back the $40K, and without my renovations, it sold for $60K less than she had hoped. She moved back in with her parents. Brett's marketing company folded when word got out about the fake production scheme. Turns out defrauding contractors isn't great for business reputation. Melissa works at a call center now. Her dreams of being a television producer as fake as her boyfriend's credentials. But here's the really good news. That video of me dismantling their scam went viral in contractor circles. I became something of a folk hero. The guy who literally deconstructed his ex's con job. My business has never been better. Nancy Russell hired me for 3 more properties and refers me to everyone she knows. Jake started his own contracting firm with my blessing and support. We still work together on big projects. He says that night taught him the most important lesson about standing up for yourself he ever learned. I am dating someone new. She is an architect named Sarah who appreciates good craftsmanship and has her own successful business. She pays for her own home improvements and would never dream of asking me to work for free. When I told her this whole story on our 3rd date, she said, "Good for you. People who steal other people's work deserve to have their foundations ripped out from under them." Sometimes I drive by Haley's old house. The new owners hired someone else to renovate it. The work is functional. You can see where they cut corners, use cheaper materials. It is fine, but it is not art. That is the difference between genuine craftsmanship and staged illusion. Real quality stands the test of time. Fake facades crumble under pressure. You know what I learned from all this? The first thing they teach you in construction is that everything needs a solid foundation. The last thing you learn is that this applies to everything in life. Relationships, business, trust, everything. Haley wanted to stage homes for a living. Instead, she staged her own demolition. And I was happy to provide the crew. Thanks for all your support, Reddit. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting people face the natural consequences of their choices.